What's up, guys, and welcome to PlayerPool for NFL Week 18. And in Week 18, we have all sorts of chaos and chaotic situations to try to navigate when trying to find out the best players for our DFS lineups. And I think I have a few spots, and I'm going to get into it right after this.
Our viewers and subscribers are crushing it thanks to SportNuggets.com's premium content. On our live show Game Script, we've built multiple showdown-winning lineups recently, delivering thousands in winnings straight to our viewers. Shout out to Basie Babe, Mosh8124, TC2480, and Wizard Gangsta for cashing big using our recommended plays. Our premium members have taken it to the next level, absolutely dominating leaderboards with our exclusive core plays and insights. Our own PumaCom smashed Week 17's weekend slates, banking over $79,000 in contest winnings. Shout out to premium Discord member Sick Hemi for winning over $2,000 using our core plays. This success comes from our unique narrative-driven game script projections and curated news aggregation, tools designed to streamline your research, uncover hidden gems, and give you the edge in fantasy and betting contests. Join the winners today. Sign up for premium access at sportnuggets.com and start building your own massive paydays.
What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heatseeker Sports, and we're looking at the Week 18 NFL main slate on Sunday, and we have some games that still have meaning on Sunday, and we have some players that are chasing milestones or incentives that are worth mentioning, and it should be an interesting week. It's a little bit chaotic in Week 18. Some guys that you think are a lock to get a certain amount of yards end up being duds, and it's always kind of a crapshoot, so don't want to bet the farm on Week 18. But if you want to throw a few lineups in, I think I got a few directions that we can go. It's going to be more important than ever this week to sign up for an account over at sportnuggets.com. And that's because we're going to be covering all the narratives, basically. We're following about 1,000 local feeds over on sportnuggets.com. And those feeds are going to, like, if you have a player that you're wondering if they're going to be playing this week, or if you have a player that you're wondering if they have incentives this week, you can go over to sportnuggets.com, look those players up, and see what the latest news or updates or blurbs on those people are. We're taking all our sources from local sources, so we get the people who know these teams the best and know their motivations the best. So it's the best resource that you can have for trying to figure out something like Week 18. So sportnuggets.com, sign up for a free account. We're still running the OG membership for premium. So if you haven't signed up for a premium account, go sign up for that as well. I posted already showdown breakdowns for the Saturday slate, and also a write-up on the Saturday slate. I got a direction on that slate that I really like. I like the Saturday slate, I think, better than the Sunday slate this week. But I do like the some spots in the Sunday slate that I think that we can get a little bit different for sure. So let's take a look at some of these situations. Like, we're going to want to pay attention to the depth charts to make sure that the players that you're considering are actually going to be in this week, or maybe we can take a look at these depth charts to try to figure out which players are going to be sitting this week and give us opportunities to start some of these lesser known players, or players that guys don't get those opportunities very often. So there are a few spots like that I noticed on this slate, and I really like how the build that I did, the preliminary build that I did, comes together. And, we'll go over that here in a second. So first game is going to be New Orleans versus Atlanta. And with New Orleans versus Atlanta, we're looking at a 44.5 point total, with Atlanta as 3-point favorites in this one. And Atlanta's defense has been a sieve for the passing games. And we got a quarterback in Tyler Shuck who's still chasing the Rookie of the Year award. So last week, with my lineup that won $15K over on the Millie Maker, was my premise to my premium members was that Tyler Shuck was going to be throwing throughout the whole game. I noticed the previous week when he was facing off against the Jets, he had 49 dropbacks despite the blowout score. They ended up beating him like 40 something to 6 on that game, but he dropped back 49 times. Still, that gave me the indication that they were shooting for Rookie of the Year for Tyler Shuck, and I recommended him against Tennessee last week and ended up paying off big time. And this week, it's a similar situation. He's still going for that record. The only thing that sucks is Chris Olave is out. He had a lung clot or something like that. So we're not going to have Chris Olave this week. Instead, we're going to have some cheap options for his stacking partners. And one of those guys is going to be Kevin Austin Jr. Kevin Austin Jr. was getting a decent amount of targets last week. He's going to be kind of the de facto wide receiver one this week for Tyler Shuck, and he's cheap at 3,400. So we got a cheap stacking partner for Tyler Shuck, who himself is pretty cheap. We're looking at 5,300 this week for Tyler Shuck, only $100 more than he was last week. And this guy's been on a tear. Like when they're trying to chase that Rookie of the Year, like he's got 19, 22, 18, 20, and 24. And I don't see him having prohibitive ownership this week either. It didn't look that high on him. I think people are shying away from him without Chris Olave in the lineup. The reason why I wouldn't necessarily shy away from him is that Atlanta's given up 19.3 DraftKings points a game to quarterbacks, and they're giving 31.8 to wideouts. So that is huge. And when you got a stacking partner that's dirt cheap, you know, these guys don't need much to pay off their salaries. So I do like Shuck, and I do like Kevin Austin. And you could consider, too, Dante Pettis. Like if you watched the game last week, Dante Pettis was getting targeted a lot towards the end of the game. And, you know, I think he was getting comfortable with him. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dante Pettis. And we've seen this before with Dante Pettis, where he comes out of nowhere and has these good games. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get upwards of like 7 targets this week at 3,100. So Dante Pettis could be in play for us this week. I think a lot of people who are on Shuck are going to be after Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson this week is in a situation where he's facing off against a defense that is only giving up 14.7. So it's a middling defense. It's still pretty good matchup for a tight end. So Juwan Johnson, you know, is in play for double stacks with Tyler Shuck as well this week. And he's not too expensive too at 4,200. So keep him in mind. With the Falcons, you know, Kyle Pitts on the other side of that has a matchup where not a good matchup against New Orleans. New Orleans has only been giving up 9.9 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So not the best matchup there for Kyle Pitts. And New Orleans defense has been pretty good against the pass in general. They're only giving up 10.9 to quarterbacks, 14.4 to wideouts, and 6.3 to slots. So they've been solid all around with these wideouts. So the target that we want here is Bijan Robinson, who is going for a rushing title. And I think it was, let me look and see what his exact. So he needs 255 scrimmage yards, and this is according to ETR, I believe, to set the single season record. So he needs 255 scrimmage yards. I would not be surprised if they go all out to try to get him the ball and get him running and passing to him and everything. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bijan have a big night or big day on Sunday. So Bijan Robinson is going to be in play for us as a run back for these Tyler Shuck stacks if we want to go that way. And let's see, Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I mean, you could make a case for Kirk Cousins, but I'm not using a passing game against this New Orleans defense. So not really interested in anyone except for, those guys that I mentioned. So if we're going to Cleveland versus Cincinnati, this game we are looking at we're looking at a 44.5 point total with Cincy as 7.5 point favorites against the Browns. And, this is one where we can take a look real quick and see where we're at with injuries. Let's see, Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not sure how much they're gonna play their starters in this game. Let's see. His guy's sitting out. We're missing a defensive end on Cincy, but it looks like their offense is relatively healthy. As far as Cleveland, they have a great defense. We still got Myles Garrett chasing that sack record, so he needs a sack. Unfortunately, with Shadir, he's missing Harold Fannin, his top receiver. Also missing David Njoku this week. It looks like their offensive line is a little bit. Well, no, they're still missing Wyatt Teller and Jack Conklin. So their offensive line is going to be in rough shape. On the defense, we're missing a couple linebackers, both the middle linebackers. We're missing decent amount of guys on this defense, but in general, I don't think this is a game that I want to go after. Division rivals, we got a good defense in Cleveland. They're playing in Cincinnati. Cleveland has been weak against the run. They're giving up 29.3 DraftKings points a game to running backs. So I'm not sure how much Chase Brown is going to be playing this week. Check it out real quick. And this is one of the tricky parts about Week 18. Some of these teams will surprise you, and they'll end up playing all their starters and end up having like just a regular game in Week 18, and then other teams will bench their starters after a couple weeks, especially teams that still have stuff to play for in the playoffs. Obviously, let's see if we can get something here with. All right, so he's been cleared to play despite an illness. Looks like they will play him. So if you wanted Chase Brown's got he's got a decent matchup against Cleveland, and I don't think he's going to be owned a ton this week. But he's had 2 weeks in a row with 32 DraftKings points. He was one of my core plays last week against who was he against last week? Against Arizona, I guess. Yeah, so had him last week as a core play. He ended up being part of that Millie lineup that I had that won that 15K. So Chase Brown, he's in another good spot this week. But I'm a little bit cautious about insignificant games. But Chase Brown, he could be in a spot to do something this week. The Burrow to Chase stacks, I'm not really after those. I think I would probably skip over this game for the most part. I think there's other games that we can target where we have better matchups, but the Chase Brown spot stands out in this game in general. And unfortunately, the tight ends are both out. Otherwise, we'd have a great matchup for the tight ends. We can check and see what the backup of Cleveland is. Let's see. We're down to Blake Whiteheart. So Blake Whiteheart might be a guy, or Brendan Bates. I'm not sure which of these guys are going to be the starter, which is all the reason more why I would tend to ignore this game, because that's probably the best spot on in the game apart from what we see with Chase Brown. So Indy versus Houston. On this one, we're looking at a 38.5 point total with Houston as 10.5 point favorites in this one. Now, this is one, let's see, that I'm not too interested in this one. I don't know how much these guys are going to play. Let's check out and see what we're seeing here with Houston. All right, so give it a second here. So the guys that have been ruled out for Houston, looks like nobody's been ruled out. We can check and see what the motivation is here for Houston real quick. I believe they're still are they still playing for the let's see, week 18. So, okay, so they can win the AFC South with a win and a Jaguars loss. So, yeah, so they're going to be playing their starters in this one most likely against Indy, and they get them a better seed as well, and they'd be able to at least play one home game in the playoffs. So the matchup here against Indy is good for the passing game. We got quarterback. Indy's giving up 18.5 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. They're giving up 21.8 to wideouts, and they're giving up 14.1 to the slot. So it's a good matchup all around for Houston's passing game. And the run game, 22.9 is what Indy's given up to the run. So good matchup all around here. The problem is on the Indy side is, let's take a look real quick. Phillip Rivers is out, so they're starting the guy, the rookie quarterback that was kind of put on the back burner for Phillip Rivers. Riley Leonard is going to be starting this week, and he's up against a very difficult defense in Houston. And it's not looking good for his prospects. We're missing Sauce Gardner on the defense. So it might be a good matchup for Nico Collins consideration. Let me check and see what Nico Collins' ownership is this week. But Nico Collins would obviously stand out in this situation. Get a look and see what his projected ownership is. All right, so Nico is looking at only 11.6 ownership in this decent matchup. So Nico Collins could be in play for us this week, depending on how much he's going to play. Because if they have a blowout situation, there's a good chance that they're just gonna lean on the run for the rest of the game. Obviously, let's check out the running back situation here. Woody Marks looks like he's going to play. He's at 5,800. Indy's defense, not the best matchup for a running back, so I'm not super high on that play. But you could make a case for Woody Marks. You could make a case for Nico Collins. I expect this to probably be like more of a blowout situation. So I would tend to avoid this game in general. I think there's better places that we can target. Tennessee versus Jacksonville. This is an important game. Jacksonville is still vying for the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. They need to win, and they need Denver and who's the other one? Let's see. They need Denver to lose and New England to lose, basically. So Jacksonville's still in it. They still have potential to win the number 1 overall seed. They face off against Tennessee, who has a pretty bad defense. We're looking at a 47.5 point total with Jacksonville as 12.5 point favorites in this one. Now, keep in mind, with Jacksonville, we've seen them in this spot before where they had a super easy matchup and they just completely choked in week 18. And I think it was against Tennessee too, honestly, like a couple years ago. And they just completely choked. But Tennessee's given up 21.4 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. They're giving up 22.4 to wideouts. And the problem with Trevor Lawrence, I say it every week, is like, what are we going to do with these fantasy scores if we want to stack Trevor Lawrence? Look, we see 1 21-point week out of Jacoby Myers. That's not going to get us a win in a tournament. If we look at Brian Thomas Jr., same thing. Which of these scores is going to give us a tournament winning performance? None of them. So Brian Thomas, he's not worth stacking with him. Parker Washington is probably the best option that we would have. You can see that last 2 weeks he's over 20 DraftKings points, but he's the only one who's really been consistent with putting up decent scores. If we look at the tight end, we can check out Strange. Strange has had some decent weeks, but he's in the same situation. It's like all these guys like are like not doing anything. It's always like Trevor Lawrence. He's rushing so many touchdowns that he's poaching all the fantasy points to himself. So Trevor Lawrence is a guy that you could really run naked But the problem is if they are going to be blowing out Tennessee, it's going to be more Travis Etienne that we see. And I don't know how long they're going to keep Etienne in this game. So Etienne is in a bad matchup too. Tennessee's only given up 17.3 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. But I think that's mainly because teams have been passing against Tennessee so much. So Etienne could be interesting this week. But, really, I think you could just run what's his face, Lawrence naked if you wanted to try to capitalize on those points, or maybe run him with ETN. I know a lot of people are going to be on this game, and it makes sense because Trevor Lawrence and the Jags have a lot to play for this week. But, at the end of the day, it's not a matchup that I'm targeting. If we're looking at Tennessee, on the Tennessee side, Jacksonville's given up only 14.4 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. Cam Ward has been playing better. They're also giving up 13.3 would be to the slot. He's been playing better the past 2 weeks, but this is just going to be a tough matchup for him. Last game he faced Jacksonville, he scored 6 DraftKings points. So not really interested in him either. DK might be interesting in this matchup, but that, even that's too thin. I'd rather go with spots that I have a good feel on this week. And Jacksonville, it seems like in a blowout script, if you think that the passing game gets them to the blowout, maybe put Trevor Lawrence in there alone potentially, because like those stacking partners, they cost a lot and they don't produce. So it's very difficult, except for Parker Washington. Parker Washington, you could stack him with. But Brenton Strange, all those other guys, not really interested there. Parker Washington, Travis Etienne, those would be the guys that I'd interested in. Green Bay versus Minnesota. We're looking at a 35.5-point total on this one, with Minnesota as 7.5-point favorites. They're going to be benching the starters in this one for Green Bay. And Green Bay's defense has been putrid in general. If we look at Justin Jefferson, Jefferson needs 53 yards to hit 1,000. So they're going to definitely try to get him over 1,000 yards. Been a terrible season for him. It's looking like we're going to have 9 throwing to him this week. And he has not had any chemistry with 9 throughout the season. But, this week in a game where they're basically surrendering the Green Bay Packers, I would not be surprised if he had a decent game. You look at the injury report, Hawkinson is out, so Josh Oliver is starting. I believe Josh Oliver needs 2 touchdowns to hit an incentive, so that could be interesting. With Aaron Jones, he's going to be out. Jordan Mason could be interesting for us. I think he is close to an incentive too. Let's check out and see how many yards he has. He's got 664 yards. I think he needed, let me see if we can find it. Let's see. He's in a decent matchup because Green Bay's been pretty bad, like all around, ever since the loss of Micah Parsons. The Packers are giving up 25.2 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. They're giving up 23.3 to wideouts for that Jefferson play. They're giving up 11.8 to the slot, only 8.7 to tight end. So probably unlikely that we'll see those touchdowns for Josh Oliver, or a touchdown for Josh Oliver. But Jordan Mason, he gets an incentive if he hits 800 yards. And, I don't know if they're going to be like too motivated to get him to that incentive, just because, you got to consider if these guys have outperformed or underperformed throughout the season. And, Jordan Mason looks like more of an underperformer. So what incentive are the coaches going to have, or ownership going to have, to get him enough work to get that incentive? But, Jordan Mason will be himself motivated. And if he's able to get his opportunities, maybe he can get over that hump. He would need basically 136 yards to get there. And, it's a matchup where Green Bay is not going to be having any of their starters. So, Jordan Mason could definitely get there. And like I said, like Justin Jefferson is only a few yards away from hitting that 1,000-yard mark this year too. And those are really the only guys that I would be interested in this week. I'm not really interested in, well, McCarthy might be a little bit interesting. Let me check and see. McCarthy, no, it's like, it's not a bad matchup. But the problem is like they haven't been able to connect with Justin Jefferson all season. So why would like this week be any different? They haven't had a chemistry all season. Like, they could try to get Justin Jefferson over that hump, and they're going to try to get Justin Jefferson over that hump. But how much beyond the hump are we going to get this week? Because he needs only 53 yards to hit that bonus, and at that point, if he gets that early in the game, who's to say how much more he's going to play? Or maybe they just try to force feed him the ball to develop a chemistry with McCarthy in a meaningless game. It's like a practice situation for these two guys to get on the same page. But that could be interesting if you wanted to take that angle. McCarthy's relatively cheap at 5,200, so you could definitely take an angle like that. Dallas, New York. This one seems pretty interesting to me. Dak is shooting for a passing title on this one, and his top receivers obviously would come along for that. The problem is like, how long are they going to keep these guys in the game? So we don't know how long they're going to keep Dak and the starters in the game. I feel like with the game being in New York, if it was in Dallas, I would expect them to probably want to put on a show. Jerry Jones would want to put on a show and keep them in longer. But since it's in New York, I have a little less confidence in that. One thing that was interesting to me is Kevontae Turpin. And Kevontae Turpin needed, I think, like 150 yards to hit an incentive. Let me check. Kevontae Turpin, week 18 incentive. Let's see. I know I posted this one in my my Discord. He needs 104 yards. 104 yards for Kevontae Turpin to hit his incentive. And Kevontae Turpin is a guy who's outperformed this season. And, I think that they would be more inclined to help Kevontae Turpin like hit his incentive. He's one of these guys that, plays hard, does what he's asked and everything. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kevontae Turpin have a decent game. He had 86 yards last week against Washington, so they might have been trying to get him there last week as well. So Kevontae Turpin, don't be surprised if we see a decent week out of him. We got Wan'Dale Robinson is out this week. Let's see. Otherwise, yeah, I don't really see too much more interesting. Lamb and Pickens would both be in play if they're trying to get Dak the passing title. They're up against the New York defense. We're looking at a 49.5 point total. It's only a 3.5 point spread in favor of Dallas. But, 49.5 point total tells me that the starters are going to be in there for a while. The running back situation here is interesting too. The Williams is out and Malik Davis is out too. So that leaves them with Blue, one of the heroes of best ball that everybody was high on. Jaden Blue would get his opportunity most likely. Let's check the depth chart real quick. Take a look at the Cowboys here. And with Jaden Blue, it looks like he's he would be the guy. They have three of their running backs out, including the two at the top of the depth chart. So Yeah, so Jaden Blue would be in play this week. Let me see what his ownership is because he was very popular in best ball. So I wonder if that's going to chase him over here. Yeah, he's at 34.9% ownership. So it's all those best ball bros are trying to get their fix on Jaden Blue. So I think he's in play at 4,300. He's against a terrible New York Giants defense that's given up 29.2 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. This one will probably be a mix of Dak passing title and then Jaden Blue, getting his opportunity finally. On the other side with New York, Dallas has been terrible against the pass. So we could see Jackson Dart have a good situation this week. Let me see what the situation is with New York starting their starters. Let's see. So I'm seeing Yahoo Sports report that the Giants, Jackson Dart, and the rest of the New York starters are going to play the entire game in Week 18. The only problem is Wandale being out, but we could stack Jackson Dart with Darius Slayton or somebody like along those lines. And last game that he had against the Cowboys, only 8 DraftKings points, but that was Russell Wilson throwing to him. Could be interesting for Slayton. Let's see what he's done the last few weeks. Yeah, he's just like not getting, like, he got targeted 10 times, only scored 9 DraftKings points. It's going to be hard to go in that direction for me. They really need to get some receivers for Dart. Dart actually looked pretty good this season. Otherwise, I don't really see anyone interesting on the New York side, although they have that passing matchup. I think this would be more of a Dallas stack for me, or trying to get Jaden Blue exposure. He's going to be 34%, so he's going to be like a ton of ownership, but he's in a good spot. So, and he's cheap. So Miami versus New York or New England, we are looking at let's see, 45.5 point total with Patriots as 10.5 point favorites in this one. Let's see, Patriots. With the Patriots starters, it looks like they are planning to play New England for most, if not all, of the game, and they obviously have that top overall seed on the line. I think they still do. Let me double check that. Playoff. I'm gonna go share this tab instead. So the Patriots still have a shot at the number 1 seed. They need the Broncos to lose, basically, and they need to win. So they're set up to get there. If, like I said, if both these teams lose and the Jaguars win, then Jaguars are the first overall seed, I believe. So they still have a shot too. But as far as New England, with the matchup here, Miami's been giving up 19.3 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. They've only been giving up 20.4 to running backs, so this would seem like more of a pass-oriented approach. They've been more vulnerable against the slot. So, if you wanted to play Drake May, you could, but the problem is Ewers. So, they're likely to be having a significant lead in this one with Quinn Ewers as the quarterback on the opposite side there. As far as running backs or wide receivers, like Diggs has like a bunch of issues going on. He also could hit incentives. I think he needs like 8 receptions or something like that to hit his incentives, but I don't know like how eager they're going to be to get Diggs his incentives with what he's got going on right now outside of the game. Let's see. With the running back situation, if you think that New England's going to win by 10.5 points, you could be interesting in the running back situation. This is a division opponent with Miami. So, Miami's not going to just probably not going to just lay down in this game. I wouldn't be surprised to, see them make it interesting, but at the same time, it could be a blowout, so nothing would surprise me in a matchup like this, but, I wouldn't be surprised to see the defense playing hard against this New England offense. And I'm not really too interested in this game. We got Achane doubtful. That could be interesting. I think New England is going to be healthy with their pass defense this week. Last week, we targeted Breece Hall because New England was missing a bunch of their run defenders. And this week, Tonga is still out. Let's see. Barmore is in. I think he was out last week. Milton Williams is still on IR, but I think I saw that he might be coming off IR this week. Let me check. Go over to sportnuggets.com, see if we can get a latest update on this. As you can see on my Sport Nuggets homepage, I have the Week 18 Saturday show. Saturday is a much easier slate to break down, and I like that slate in general. Let's see. Milton preparing to be ready for Sunday at New York. Oh, that's a different Milton. Milton Williams. Nearing return from ankle injury. Expected to return from IR. Let's see. Milton Williams and left tackle Will Campbell were full participants at practice, and neither one carries an injury designation. So, that's giving us something different than we saw with ESPN. But, yeah, so if they're not carrying injury designations, then, I would stay away from the run game here in Miami. Otherwise, Jalen Wright would have been interesting, or Ollie Gordon. But not really interested in anything in that game pretty much. Arizona versus the Rams. This is a game with 45.5 point total, with the Rams as 7.5 point favorites in this one. Let's see. Looking at this this matchup, I believe that the Rams are going to be playing their starters in this one too, because they're trying to get that better seeding. So let's take a look here. Yeah, so Sean McVay confirmed his healthy starters will play in Week 18 against the Cardinals. They're aiming for that number 5 seed. And I believe number 5, if they have the number 5 seed, then they play the NFC South in the first round of the playoffs. So it's definitely a motivator there. Arizona's given up 19.1 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. They're giving up 15.2 only to wideouts, 10.3 to the slot. They've been vulnerable against tight end, giving up 15.6. They are also giving up 34.8 to running backs. So, Kyren Williams might be interested in this one. We could see if he's going to play. Let's check it out. Let's see, Kyren Williams. Let's see. Questionable, but coach optimistic. Plans to play despite ankle injury. So I think these guys, these running backs for Los Angeles would both be in play this week. Either or. I wouldn't start them in the same lineup, but either of these guys is going to be in play, Corum or Williams. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get Matthew Stafford back, another tune-up before this playoff run. But It's a difficult matchup for Puka. Puka's going to be popular this week. Let me check and see what ETR is giving him. So, he's coming in as one of the higher owned receivers on the slate. So I am going to tend to, maybe use him sparingly. I'm not going to be all in on Puka this week, but he's at 9K. He's expensive. And, I think there's other, better matchups this week that we can target. We don't need to jam him in, I don't think. I don't know how much usage he's going to get in this one. Could end up having a monster game, but he could also end up. I think he's still playing for the offensive player of the year too. So Puka somewhat incentivized this week to have a big game, and those tight ends for the Rams would be in play this week as well. With Parkinson, he got 7 targets last week. Ferguson's been the touchdown scorer. He got 4 targets last week, and his salary is only $2,700. So Ferguson could be an interesting salary relief guy. And Allen got no targets last week, but he got 5 targets and 4 targets the previous weeks. So, Ferguson would probably be the play at 2,700. Like if you wanted to use them against this Arizona defense that's giving up 15.6 DraftKings points to the tight end position. So let's go with the Jets versus Buffalo. Now, I don't think that the Bills can really improve their situation. Let's see. There's expected to play key starters in Week 18 versus the Jets, including Josh Allen, but potentially with limited snaps as they aim to secure playoff seeding and maintain momentum. So, could see limited snaps here. They're likely to, be in a blowout situation. I think the more interesting play here is James Cook, because they're trying to get him the rushing title, and it would be the first rushing title by a Bill running back since like the OJ days. So it'd be the first in a long time. And, the coaches have all, like Coach Speaked it up, talking about, wanting to get him there and how cool it would be and everything. So James Cook, I would imagine, is going to get a decent workload against a Jets defense that is giving up 31 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. On the other side there, Breece Hall, Buffalo's been giving up 27 DraftKings points. Breece Hall is questionable, so keep an eye on his status. But, James Cook, I think I'd be interested in, and that would probably be it from this game. Detroit versus Chicago. Now, this is a game where Chicago's going to play their starters, and they're looking for seeding. And in this game, we have they're trying to get the number 2 overall seed. So it's an important game for Chicago. And we're looking at a 50.5 point total in this one with Chicago as 3-point favorites. Let's see what kind of ownership we got in this game. Let's see. All right, so Gibbs is going to be the highest owned guy in this game. People aren't really on Caleb Williams this week. He's under 10%. So Swift. Good run defense generally by Detroit. They've been getting up 23.4 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, though. Caleb Williams would have the better matchup, 20.3 DraftKings points, and they're giving up 29.3 to wide receivers and 11.9 to slot. I would be interested in what's his face, Luther Burden this week. Luther Burden won me that showdown the other day, and I had him as the captain. He ended up shipping it for me. And Luther Burden, he's just been on fire recently. 30 DraftKings points, 14 and 11. You see he's starting to get worked more into this offense. And if we have Odunze out again this week, let's see, Chicago Bears. Odunze is questionable. But if he was out, then I would definitely be in on Luther Burden. We can check his sport nuggets and see what let's see what the no, we don't want Burden, we want Odunze. Let's see what it says about Rome Odunze here. Returns to limited practice. So, I mean, if he's coming back, they're likely to work him in. And in which case, I do like Luther Burden this week. And I don't mind the Caleb stacking partner either. Luther Burden is, let's see, he's getting pricier. He's at 5,300. Caleb Williams is at 5,900. So he's still somewhat affordable. And then Colston Loveland might be interesting too. The Lions are giving up, let's see, only 12.3 to the tight end position. They've been more vulnerable in the slot. Olamide Zaccheaus was him being out last week was what made me like Colston Loveland on that showdown slate. And Olamide Zaccheaus looks like he's going to be in. He just soaks up too many damn targets. But they are vulnerable to the slot. But I do like Luther Burden and probably Colston Loveland the best for this game. Let's see. Going to the next game. We got the Chargers versus the Broncos. This is a game with a 37.5 point total with Denver as 12.5 point favorites. Chargers going to rest their starters in this one, and it's a bad matchup anyways. Denver, the defense of the Chargers is pretty good. Denver's playing for that number 1 overall seed, so you can make a case for Bo Nix stacks in this one. But division rivals, Chargers are probably salty that they didn't get they got knocked out of that number 1 overall seed and lost the division to these guys. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers defense showed up in this one. Not really high on Bo Nix or anyone here. There's no good matchups. And on top of that, it's not really like a game that I want to target. Kansas City versus Vegas. Genty has some incentive in this one. We're looking at a, 36.5 point total with KC as 5.5 point favorites. KC's been giving up 21.8 to the running back. So this middling matchup. He is 112 yards away from hitting 1,000 yards rushing for his rookie season. So Ashton Genty is going to be interesting this week. But really, that's the only guy that I think I would bother targeting. Hollywood Brown has all sorts of incentives. But, I don't see them going out of their way to try to get him there because he's another guy that just, completely underperformed. But Hollywood Brown would be interesting at 4K if you like the incentive play there. Washington versus Philly. Philly's going to be resting their starters in this one. I would be interested in Tank Bigsby. We've talked about it like throughout the season, how he's looked good and how he should be getting more opportunities with Saquon struggling throughout the season. But, like with Washington giving up, 32.7 DraftKings points a game to running backs. This is going to set up Bigsby for a really nice game. And I don't think the ownership is going to be there either. Let's see. Now, I only see him at 6%. So this is one of our classic Heat Seeker sports plays where we name a guy that nobody else is thinking of, and it's an obvious play. Tank Bigsby, the backup. I'm going to imagine that he's going to be, playing throughout most of this game. Let's check it out with Philly. Just make sure that he doesn't have an injury designation. Yeah, Tank Bigsby, no injury designation. Let's see. Will Tank Bigsby play in Week 18? Yeah, he's expected to play and potentially start Week 18. So, this is like a gift, like Tank Bigsby at 5,400 for us against this terrible Washington defense, and nobody's going to be on him. So, like this is one of our classic plays that I'm going to be all over with Tank Bigsby this week. And other than that, not really interested in too much else from this game. You could make a case for Tanner McGee. They might want to give him some run and see how good he is against this terrible Washington defense that's giving up 20 DraftKings points a game to quarterbacks and 21.6 to wideouts. I don't know which wideout we would be getting here, though. So I wouldn't want to try to figure that out. I'd be more on Tank Bigsby trying to figure that out. So let's go ahead and build our first lineup. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Going to be running all these 2-game slates or all these like playoff slates throughout the playoffs. So you're going to want to subscribe to the channel so you know when those shows are being uploaded and you can check them out. Had a lot of success recently. You guys have seen it. A lot of big hits recently. Came in 5th place or 3rd or 4th place in the Millie Maker last week. I think it was 5th place. Also won the Spy last week. Won the showdown, main showdown contest for the Chicago game last week as well. Just been on a roll. The 2-game slate from last week too. Nailed that one. Got a monster hit on that one too. So just been having a lot of success on these slates. So hopefully we can keep it going with this Week 18 slate. But, built a bunch of showdown winners too on the show that my viewers actually used the lineup and did well on, and I didn't even use the lineup. So a lot of them have had success using the lineups built on the show. And, we've just been building winners left and right. So hopefully we can keep it going in Week 18. You get my premium content over at sportnuggets.com. You sign up for the OG account there. It's going to be a discount for life of the subscription. So as long as you have the subscription, you're going to get the discount. All right, so let's start with that Tyler Shuck situation here. I'm going to go with Shuck, and I'm going to put him with Kevin Austin. We can run it back with Bijan Robinson. So we got a good portion of our lineup there already. Let's go to Tank Bigsby because we know we want him. So let's get Tank Bigsby in there as our second running back. Let's see. What were the other incentives that I liked? Let's see. Or just general matchups. I do like the Chicago situation with the Lions giving up 29.3 to the wide receiver position. So that makes me like Burden this week. I'm going to put Burden in there. He's still relatively cheap too. I'm not breaking the bank on any of these guys. So, for defense, let's see. For defense, we can go pretty expensive here. I'm going to go with the Broncos playing against these backups of the Chargers and Trey Lance. So we got the Broncos. We got 3 more spots to fill here. Not a ton of correlation with my lineup, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about correlation in a week like this. If I wanted someone from that Jags game, but like I don't really like anyone from that Jags game, I'd put Parker Washington in there, which we could definitely do. Or we could go expensive and put Puka in the lineup. Let's do that. Let's put Puka in there. Let's see, 4,500 per guy. Let's get Jaden Blue in there. I mean, we got a couple low-owned guys, so I'm not really concerned about getting that chalky play in there. Let's see, where's that Philly game? It's going to be in the afternoon. So let's swap Bigsby. Let's get Blue in there and get Bigsby in there. That leaves us with tight end. And, we have options like Hunter Henry, Kelsey. Tyler Warren has a decent matchup against Houston. I just don't trust the quarterback situation. Ferguson, don't really like any of those guys too much. I'd like Loveland if Alamedy was out again. But it's kind of tough to go there. Let's swap out. Let's get Bigsby back over here. Or no, let's put James Cook in. Because I do like Cook this week. And let's get Bigsby in. Let's see. So we're over the salary cap. So I'm going to get Nakua out of there. I'm going to go with Lamb or Pickens. I don't mind with that matchup against the Giants and Dak chasing that passing game, passing title this year. Other than that, I don't see too many guys that I like. So let's go with let's put Lamb in there. Like if I did this lineup, I just swap it out and rotate Lamb and Pickens. So if we're looking at tight end, Musgrave. No, he's not that interesting. Ferguson. There we go. Ferguson on the Rams would be a good option for us to plug in here. And kind of builds itself as long as you know what you're looking for with those incentives and motivations. So let's do something with that Chicago game because I do like that game stack this week. Let's go with Williams. Let's go with Burden. And let's give him Loveland. So we got him double stacked there. We can run it back. Chicago has been weak against. Chicago's been weak against the slot. So that sets up Amon-Ra to be decent for us. Let's put Amon-Ra in there. And for running backs, let's get Bigsby in there again. This is where Jaden Blue might come in a little bit more handy for us. Oops. Blue. And Ashton Genty, we know he has some pretty good incentive, and he's not too expensive at 6,400. Then we could put in that Broncos D again, and leaves us with 7,300 for our tight end position. So we could get. I don't know why this is saying like red. Oh, it's a wide receiver. Duh. Let's go with a wide receiver. Who do we have at 7,300? We got Lamb and Pickens. And Collins. So we got three options there to go. Oh, you know what? I wanted Bijan. So let's get him in there. Let's get Robinson in this lineup. And let's get Kevin Austin. because he's going to be getting a bunch of targets. Leaves us with 7K, so we can get Genty in here. But we can also get a bunch of other options here. We got Nico Collins as an option, RJ Harvey. Jameson Williams, if we wanted to get another stacking partner in there. Genty, like right there, 6,400, leaves 600 on the table. And I feel like that's a pretty good build. We got a strong defense. We got like a double stack with Caleb Williams. We got I don't even want Blue in there. Let's put Bigsby in there. Bigsby's going to be my probably my main guy. 5,900 leaves us with what in the flex? DeAndre Swift, Sutton, McConkey, Marks. McConkey's not going to play, so he's not even an option. If we wanted to here, we could drop down here and let's get Genty in there. And then it's 3,300 for our defense. That still leaves us with options like the Cowboys, Philly, Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is who I'd go there. 3K against Green Bay, who's resting their starters. So that's a really good spot. And leaves 300 on the table. So, a couple different directions that we can go this week. You know what? I wasn't even sharing this the whole time. Sorry, guys. All right, so this is the lineup I just built. We got Caleb Williams, Tank Bigsby, Bijan Robinson, Luther Burden. We got Williams to Burden and Loveland. We got Kevin Austin in there. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and we got Genty. And then that leaves us 3,300 for our final defense. And you see what our options are here. And that other lineup was a Shuck lineup. Running it back from last week when we had that massive hit over on sportnuggets.com. Going to run them with Kevin Austin and putting Bijan on the other side. I didn't double stack him before, but we could do that with Juwan and get him in there. And then let's get, let's see. The defense I had in that last one was the Broncos. Let's get that back in there. And I had Tank Bigsby. So that left us with 6,400 per receiver. I liked Luther Burden. If we like Luther Burden, we can probably run him back with that Amon-Ra. Leaves us with 6,200 in the flex. So we have options like Breece Hall, Henderson, Higgins, Swift, Sutton. Decent options there. I didn't have him with Juwan Johnson or Amon-Ra in that one that I built, though. I went with... Who did I go with? Oh, Lamb or Pickens. Let's go with Lamb. Let's go with the tight end. It was going to be $2,700 tight end. So Ferguson. And then $8,100 for the flex. Was going to set us up with Cook. So we had Cook in the flex there too. So, pretty decent build there. I think there's a few different ways that we can go this week. Going to be writing up my favorite plays for my premium members. So make sure to subscribe over at sportnuggets.com and sign up for the OG account. That's going to be a discount for the life of your subscription. So make sure to take advantage of that. And otherwise, I'm going to be putting out a showdown show for Sunday night. And that'd be it for the regular season. Then we'll see each other in the playoffs where, we'll be putting out a ton of shows. So make sure to check out the Saturday 2-game slate show that's already posted to YouTube. Take advantage of that. And, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. I shouldn't have to remind you guys on that. Hit that like button, give me the 70 likes, and we'll keep putting out this content. Thanks, guys.